Peace. I have a guest commentator with me for the rest of the program who will be giving his thoughts on the news and issues of the day. He's the current affairs analyst and professor of communications at Bayes University in Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi. Good to see you, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Not too good a story we get him here again, and it becomes so difficult when you hear people from villages and communities talk about what they're going through. And the question many have started asking is the NSA. Perhaps that's where you can coordinate security at the moment. The president has spoken so far, but it's always like a perennial issue. Year in, year out, this is the same story, Professor Adeniyi.
Definitely, it's a very unfortunate situation, no doubt. Very disturbing. And of course, worrisome. You know, so many adjectives to describe our experience as a people. But overall, if you look at it critically, you also know that it's essentially the failure of governance, you know. And when governance fails, it's not just limited to routine administration. It's all encompassing, you know, including all the elements, you know, that shape the well-being of a people. In this case, we're talking about security. And of course, when governance fails, it's also integral to it is the fact that we have sections of the country that hardly feel the presence of government, you know, that are essentially deindustrialized, you know. In those areas where where we witness these occurrences, I doubt if there's a police post, for instance, you know, if there's a resident military presence. I don't know if there's a kind of strategy. I do know that in places like that where you have constant attacks, you know, there's usually what the army or what the military call forward operating base, you know, somewhere around, such that if there's any threat, they move in quickly. I don't know if we have that kind of formation in that area. And of course, if we have it, we do not expect this kind of you know, this kind of attack to happen without their intervention, you know. Yes, it's okay for us to continue to call on the security agencies to up their ante, but beyond that, Suleiman, it's also for us to realize that it goes beyond it, you know, landing at the doorsteps of the failure of our states, you know, as part of a nation-building effort, you know, to define the question of citizenship. We're still to define the question of citizenship. The tension, the tangle between settlers and indigenes, you know, how well or how soon can we find a compromise between the settler and the settler and the indigenes, such that the indigene will find a sense of ownership, continue to enjoy a sense of ownership, and the settler too will have a sense of integration.
Is it such a difficult thing to achieve?
Yeah, I don't think it's really difficult, but let's look at it this way. It could be the only one solution that is common around the world is actually regulation. Regulatory mechanism through the instrumentality of law and ensuring that those laws are appropriately executed. Here, you know, there's still a weakness of that institution in our own environment, so we can attribute it to it. Then the other part of it is also to realize that there's deep-seated ignorance, you know, and it's only ignorance that imbues people with that level of barbarism, that spirit of barbarism, leading to the hacking of people's lives, you know, in multiples, you know. And of course, permit me to also disagree with greatest respect with the previous speaker. I don't believe in the existence of any stratification. It looks rather nebulous. You know, the British left us 63 years ago. I mean, 63 years after, these things will obviously have devolved, you know, and they already dissolved, you know, and it's just a matter of mindset, how we want to construct it, and how leaders, how government wants to help us shape it so that we can have a collective sense of belonging. So it's just about finding compromise between the settlers and indigenes towards the definition of citizenship, so that wherever you are in this country, there won't be any tension between the settler and the indigene, you know, but you can only walk through the instrumentality of law and effective implementation of same. And beyond that, it's also to be concerned about ensuring that there's a government presence in all this area, integration in governance, let them feel the effect of governance, liberate their minds, you know, find a way of eliminating ignorance, you know, elevate them a little bit so that they can move from basically animalistic behavior to one that looks like that of human, as the case may be.
And there seemed to be a disconnect, because listening to Govt speak, he addressed he also put the problem on the doorstep of the military, and I see that the military over the years have tried to have the military civil relations to see how they can warm up to the civil population. How best can they actually reach out now that the president has spoken, just as they're in pursuit of the perpetrators? The civil-military relations should also be moving to that community.
Yeah, I think this is a slightly different case, but here we're having citizen-on-citizen violence. You know, in the case of insurgency, you are having individuals confronting the state, you know, through attacks, direct attacks on the military. And of course, when you have civil-military relationship, what it envisages, in my opinion, is to integrate
you're
the
right.
civilian population.
You're very right. But again, the problem here is that they already see, they're looking at the military. First, yesterday on Newsnight, so the gentleman who came said that they came in military fatigue. And you also heard Govt saying that the military will clear the area and give maybe a free pass to those people to also collect even levies. So that there is a disconnect between the people and the military. Perhaps the only department that may be able to have that conversation with the people will be that civil relations department. Don't you think?
There's no doubt about it, and that's what maybe they keep telling us, that it's a whole of society approach that we need in the bid to resolve the many cases of terrorism, banditry, and that we have, and insurgency that we have around us. No doubt, we know that it's an integrated approach that we need. But again, even if we do desire an integrated approach, you know, the buck must stop at somebody's desk, you know, and of course, in this circumstance, it's stopping at the desk of the military, and by extension, the NSA, and by further extension, maybe the president, you know. So we also need to go beyond rhetorics, the kind of mitigating, suiting comments that we often see after the act has been committed, to one that looks much more practical to forestall further occurrences. And how do we get this done? If not to activate the intelligence network of our forces, you know, what's wrong again with modernizing our devices? What's wrong with the use of drones? You know, what's wrong with having bases as much as possible in all those areas? You know, so that they can have their ears to the ground, and if necessary, we'll have more boots on the ground. Because these people, what they do, from what we know, is that they also monitor the state. You know, the state institutions, the military particularly, they know when they are somewhat relaxed, and they pounce. You know, and each time they pounce, they succeed. Why is this so? It just tells us that it goes back to what I said earlier, that there's a failure of governance, and within that governance, you can put in the question of deindustrialization, the fact that they hardly feel the effect of government. And of course, you also have to include the lethargy of the security agencies, failures in intelligence, you know, failures in helping those who are vulnerable, and leading to this avoidable death. So
let's see if we can do this in a minute. Vice President Kashim Shettima has also visited the communities. How soothing or helpful is that?
Well, it looks good for the optics. What do we expect? But it's not also bad if the president can also go there. You know, it's just trying to suit them. But of course, the act has been done, no doubt. But what do we do after the act? That's what I see them reacting to. Then again, I also want to say, with some of the things that we saw around, you know, around this incident, it's not also palatable. You know, visits to president that looks as if we're in a celebratory mood when we should actually be mourning. Very unfortunate, very unpalatable reaction, you know, because it's not just citizens that were traumatized. The world was literally traumatized, you know, especially when these things keep reoccurring now and again. We don't want to be pessimistic, but we cannot deny the fact that if measures are not taken, in another few months you hear one kind of attack again, then we'll have another kind of visit. It's not the visitation, the visits that matter, certain as it can be, you know, it's not the visitation that matters, but concrete action so that we can forestall such occurrences in the future, Suleiman.
Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you, my pleasure.